I'm John Batchelor. Gordon Chang of Forbes.com is here, and a special report from Bill Roggio, the Foundation for the Defense of Democracy's Long War Journal, to report on fact. Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, 28 years old, handed a charge sheet within these last hours, a preliminary Article 32 hearing. This is Army talk. Bo Bergdahl is still a member of the U.S. Army. You will recall that Bo Bergdahl, his release from the Taliban captivity of 5 years standing, was celebrated in the Rose Garden of the White House by the President of the United States, who invited the parents of Bo Bergdahl from Montana to come and enjoy the freedom for their son. Not so free anymore. Bill, a very good evening to you. Bo Bergdahl exchanged for 5 Taliban killers who are now at large, we believe, under some kind of house arrest in the Gulf. But these charges against Bergdahl, the word is desertion. That's a scary word, Bill. What is the risk here for him?
Well, look, first of all, I think the military did the right thing. It's been clear for years that Bergdahl deserted his post in Afghanistan and wandered off, at the very best wandered off. I don't think he actually went and joined the Taliban. For him, I mean, he could be jailed for decades. Whether that will actually happen, I'm somewhat skeptical of. You know, look, the reality is he's pretty much has served hard time already for whatever stupidity stupid reason he walked off his post. He's spent some pretty hard years with the Taliban. I'm wondering if they give him, sentence him to time served and just let him be and give him a dishonorable discharge and such and such. I guess we'll see. I mean, personally, I'm shocked the military, after what President Obama did upon his release, I'm surprised the military is even charging him to begin with. So I guess we'll see.
Bill, those famous comments from Susan Rice when Bergdahl was released, that he served honorably. I think most people knew that there was a real possibility that he walked off, as you put it, or deserted. Why would the National Security Advisor say something like that when it was so obviously subject to question?
I think that a lot of this was an attempt to... I really don't understand, frankly. I mean, the administration should know that that people already understood that Bergdahl, were suspicious that Bergdahl did something wrong. But I think the administration throughout was trying to put a best face on his release, because remember, he was exchanged for 5 senior Taliban leaders who were closely tied to Al-Qaeda. So, the military is going to, or not the military, the administration has a tough case to make and say, yeah, we exchanged some 5 of the most dangerous Taliban commanders we have here at Gitmo for a deserter.
Moving on to other amazing facts. The U.S. military has launched airstrikes on the Islamic State positions in Tikrit in support of the offensive of some of the Iraq army, but mostly Shia militia working for Soleimani, the head of the Quds Force, the killers themselves of the IRGC. And we're told in the press report, this is McClatchy I'm following, Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi, our guy, the guy we chose to replace the previous guy, whom we said was untrustworthy because he was the viceroy of Tehran in Iraq. This present prime minister says, the quote, he's authorized the American participation because, he says, the Tikrit battle needed to be completed so that security forces could move on to Anbar and Mosul. Bill, is there another way to read this, that the United States military, the Air Force and the Navy is now in support of Tehran? Is there another way to read this?
There really isn't. I mean, look, General Dempsey, the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, said several weeks ago to Congress that more than 2/3 of the forces fighting in Tikrit are Shia militias. And look, every militia that I tracked that's fighting in Tikrit is loyal to Qasem Soleimani, right, the head of Quds Force. They're all pictured with him. They're all closely tied to him. The head of the Popular Mobilization Committee, that's the organization set up by the Iraqi government to organize the various militias. He's a specially designated global terrorist, and when the U.S. designated him in 2008 or 2007, whatever year it was, they described, the Treasury designation described him as an advisor to Qasem Soleimani. I mean, This is what we're dealing with. There is no other way to read it. The U.S. military could spin this all they like, but the U.S. is serving as the air arm for Shia militias that are backed by Iran. And there's just no other way to read this. Now they don't want it. I think what we have here going on is the U.S. is so eager or so desperate for a major Islamic State loss that it's willing to back the Iranians.
Do you think this has anything to do with the ongoing negotiations with the P5+1 and Tehran over the nuclear deal?
I warned you he was a suspicious character, Bill, but Gordon's very suspicious.
Listen, these days, I don't rule anything out. I think it's one of those things where it doesn't hurt. I don't think this is something that's talked about on the table, but I think that given the negotiations are happening, that there may be some calculation among administration officials and diplomats to say, look, we're showing goodwill by supporting your operations in Iraq, but, you know, anyone who thinks that is just...
We'll cover this very carefully when we speak next week, Bill, with Tom Jocelyn, because the Shia militia, the way they conduct urban fighting in Tikrit is to level it and butcher it and have death lists of any Sunnis who surrender. This is sectarian genocide that's going on in Anbar province, exactly the sort of thing that will create and continue the civil war for years, because the Sunni tribes will support the Islamic State against the Shia gangsters. There's too many villains, there's too little time, Bill. We spoke of the American drones in Yemen as the air arm of the Houthis, Bill, but now Yemen having collapsed, the president has fled, the country's in total failure, and we're launching airstrikes in Yemen as well. 26 million people now under air attack from how many states, Gordon, are attacking?
Saudi Arabia and 9 other Gulf states.
The Gulf is aflame, Bill. It's already happened.
Yeah, this is just yet. Remember, President Obama described Yemen as one of its successful counterterrorism policies because they're working closely with the Yemeni government. But oops, there is no more friendly Yemeni government. President Hadi is in retreat. He's probably going to wind up leaving the country.
No, he did. They've already said he's on a boat. He's fleeing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And by the way,
even better. I mean, this is an absolute mess. Again, Houthis are Iranian-backed group.
Just a minute, Bill. Gordon has a question.
Basically, you got Saudi Arabia and 9 others are now fighting the Iranian-backed insurgents. Are they going to fight Iran in Iran?
We're talking about a collapse of the comity in the Middle East for at least a generation. Bill Roggio, Gordon Chang.